Well, he's certainly looking for stars. So, I guess we'll probably give him a stellar review then. So, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. So, this game came out in 1999 and is the third installment of the Resident Evil series. Now, I've already reviewed the remake a couple of years ago, and I've recently replayed it in preparation for this game, and I just literally completed the game tonight. So, of course, I guess we'll be taking a look at Resident Evil 3 Nemesis and really seeing if it's a good game or if it really needed the remake. Now, of course, this game is a bit controversial because of the more action set pieces, while the remake is controversial because it cut out a lot of stuff. And, well, I'll compare and contrast both of them, but the majority of this review is, of course, going to be my thoughts on Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. So, well, this game takes place before Resident Evil 2. Might it be confusing? Probably, but you'll see why here in a moment. So, part of Resident Evil 3 takes place before Resident Evil 2, up until the clock tower. That's when Jill gets infected. The rest of the game takes place after the events of the clock tower. And of course, the majority of the game is Jill trying to escape from Raccoon City while being hunted by the Nemesis. The Nemesis acts as a pursuer and an obstacle for quite a bit of the game, and it generally does a really good job. The Nemesis is absolutely terrifying. Now, the remake Nemesis, I will definitely say, is probably a bit more terrifying, but the original Nemesis, the guy is terrifying, especially when he bursts through a window in the RPD. Then, of course, there is, well, quite a lot to really enjoy about Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, such as the fact that, well, we get to explore the entirety of Raccoon City, or at least quite a bit of it. That was definitely something really fun, and something that the remake kind of misses out on. Then, of course, obviously, going back to the RPD was pretty fun too, especially because, well, Jill used to be a cop, and her being able to explore the RPD, it was generally really interesting. It also could be a nice callback to Resident Evil 2, considering that quite a bit of the game did take place in the RPD. Then, of course, well, I guess what else is enjoyable about the game? Well, I'd say the characters. Nikolai, Mikhail, and Carlos are really interesting characters, and I do like Jill's character development throughout this game too. She starts off initially distrusting of Carlos, but eventually goes around to start liking the guy. Then, of course, the boss fights. There's quite a few of them in this game. One against the Nemesis, one against Giant Worm, another one against the Nemesis. Well, there's quite a few against him. But you also get to fight a Giant Worm. And I gotta say, these boss fights are actually fairly cool. The remake, unfortunately, does kind of do away with the Giant Worm fight, as most of the time, I'm just fighting Nemesis, which is a bit of a letdown, but I guess it's still pretty cool. Nemesis's mutations in the remake are a lot better, in my opinion, but his final mutation is actually kind of cool and really terrifying. And then, of course, we have some returning enemies, like spiders and, of course, hunters, who do serve as some really challenging threats that can definitely overwhelm you if you're not careful. As for really how you feel about this game, I will definitely be honest, I do prefer the remake in quite a few ways, mainly just with gameplay and, well, obviously in terms of story, but the original is not a bad game, and I still do recommend it. This was the first time I played the original, and I'm happy I did. It was a fun game, and while it's flawed, especially with some of the puzzle designs, only a few parts are generally really tedious and a bit unbearable, such as the music puzzle box and the clock tower. But the rest of the game wasn't too bad, but I will definitely say that there does feel like a bit of fluff that could have been cut out of the game. That said, the remake could have actually enhanced quite a bit more of this and generally made it a bit more interesting too. And I do prefer the remake and kind of do say it's honestly kind of perfect. That's solely just my opinion, and I know a lot of people would disagree on that and have resentment for the remake for all it cut out, but I am definitely happy to have played both of these. I personally thought that Resident Evil 3 Nemesis was a fairly interesting game, and while it's not exactly my favorite entry in the series, I will definitely say it was still a fun game to experience. The atmosphere, the horror, the story, all of it was actually really good, and I look forward to playing this one again. I look forward to knocking out Resident Evil 2 and then eventually Code Veronica. Well, once again, as well, I've already reviewed Code Veronica, but I had plans to play a bit of an easier version for much more satisfaction. But of course, I'll be moving on to Resident Evil 2 and comparing and contrasting that one to its remake. And as I said before, I definitely do recommend this game. It's still worth checking out, even if part of it has not aged all particularly well. It's still a game that is worth checking out for the experience and really just being able to say that you played the original. But that's all I really have to say for this one. And of course, like always, I will of course be back next time with another review or so. So thank you all for watching and stay tuned for that. Have a wonderful night.